Let me tell you something, Pack Nation. Eric Edholm. I need everybody to stop what they're doing right now. Eric Edholm. This man, a credentialed NFL analyst who presumably watches football for a living, ranked the Green Bay Packers 15th in his 2026 power rankings. 15th, right there between the Kansas City Chiefs, whose franchise quarterback just tore his ACL, and the Detroit Lions, who released their starting left tackle and have no earthly idea who is rushing the passer. 15th. Now, I read every word of this article, and I want to tell you exactly what Eric Edholm wrote about the Green Bay Packers. He wrote one paragraph. He mentions Zaire Franklin, implies he is too old. Mentions Javon Hargrave, implies he is too old. And then he writes, and I need you to hear this exactly, that Jordan Love has only earned a certain level of trust to date. That is the paragraph. That is the whole thing. Now, I want you to think of one name, just one name, a name that any journalist covering the 2026 Green Bay Packers has a basic professional obligation to type at least once. Micah Parsons. Not once. Eric Edholm wrote an entire power rankings entry about this football team and did not type the name Micah Parsons one single time. A former Defensive Player of the Year candidate, one of the most disruptive pass rushers on the planet, a man who has been wearing green and gold since August, not last week, not yesterday, since August. And this man is out here worrying about Javon Hargrave's age. I am not making this up. Pull the article. Search it yourself right now. Parsons, 0 results. I made Darlene read the thing. My wife, the woman who once asked me why the players keep stopping and starting instead of just running the whole time. I slid my phone across the kitchen table. One paragraph, Darlene. Just read it. She reads it, maybe 30 seconds, puts the phone down, does not look up from her coffee, goes, Sal, he didn't mention Parsons at all. Correct, Darlene. He did not. She goes, wasn't that kind of the whole point? Yes, it was the whole point. My wife, who once thought a nickel defense was some kind of financial arrangement, identified the central failure of this article before she finished her first cup of coffee. Think about what that tells you about the homework that was done here. Now let me deal with the losses, because Edholm recites them like a eulogy, and I want to give you the actual context. Rashawn Gary traded. I know, but what version of Rashawn Gary did we just trade? Not the 2022 version, not the player this fan base dreamed about when we used the first-round pick on him. The version that spent years grinding through injuries and never became what we needed him to be. We moved on from a diminished player and received the 4th rounder. Fine, I have made peace with it. And Micah Parsons, the player who actually matters here, arrived in a completely separate deal back in August. A deal Edholm apparently forgot existed. Elston Jenkins cut. I love Elston, genuinely, but the injuries stacked up until he was a shell of his best self. That is not cruel to say. That is just true. Romeo Doubs, gone to New England. You want to know who steps into that role? Matthew Golden, first-round pick, the real deal. I am not worried about that receiver room for one single second. Are you hearing me? Not 1 second. Pack Nation, Part 2, right now. Do not move. Here is what drives me absolutely out of my mind about this kind of analysis. 1 week of free agency goes by. A few names walk out the door, and suddenly half the media thinks they have the complete picture. Like the draft is not coming. Like injured players do not return. Like you can evaluate a roster by reading the departures column and simply ignoring everything else on the page. You want to know why this team struggled down the stretch last year? You want to know why we went home in the wild card? Not because of some fundamental flaw in this organization, because Tucker Kraft tore his ACL, because Micah Parsons tore his ACL. We played the most important stretch of the season without two players who, when healthy, change what this football team looks like on both sides of the ball completely. Eric Edholm ranked us 15th by evaluating a roster that was missing both of those guys. Then he wrote a paragraph about Zaire Franklin's age and called it analysis. Am I crazy? Stay with me here. Am I the only one who sees this? Let me tell you what this team actually is. When Parsons is healthy and flying off the edge and making offensive coordinators lose sleep on a Thursday night, when Tucker Kraft is back running routes over the middle and doing things tight ends his size have no business doing, when Edgerrin Cooper and Zaire Franklin, who is one of the most productive tacklers in this league and not the liability this article implies, are running the defense sideline to sideline, when Matthew Golden has a full offseason under his belt and steps into that starting lineup and shows everybody exactly what a first-round pick looks like when he is ready. That is the 2026 Green Bay Packers. That is the team Eric Edholm chose not to write about. He gave us one paragraph and went home. You want to talk about who is ranked above us? Let us talk about it. 14, Kansas City Chiefs, one spot above Green Bay. Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL. His own article says the secondary is the biggest gap after everything they lost. A rehabbing quarterback and a compromised secondary, one spot above us. 6, Baltimore Ravens. 6, the Ravens, who just botched a Max Crosby trade so badly that Edholm himself, in the very same article, calls the whole situation fascinating. Fascinating. That is the word you use when you genuinely cannot tell if something was a good idea. They are 6th. This is the analytical framework we are working with, Pac Nation. A man looked at 1 week of free agency, listed the names who left, forgot to mention the best defensive player we have acquired in years, a player who has been on this roster since August, ranked the team with a rehabbing ACL quarterback above us, and called it a power ranking. That is not a power ranking. That is a guy who opened the wrong tab and just went with it. When September comes, when Parsons is wrecking quarterbacks, when Tucker Kraft is back making plays, when this roster is whole and healthy and ready, I want every single one of you to remember this, that Eric Edholm had us at 15 in March, spent one paragraph on us, did not type the name Micah Parsons a single time. If you know what this team is, if you can see what Edholm clearly cannot, you subscribe to the Packernet podcast right now. You share this episode. You tell somebody who needs to hear it. We give you the full picture every single week. Not a departure list, not one paragraph, the real thing. This is Big Sal. Pac Nation, I love every last one of you. Now go do something useful.